No, that's impossible.
It's supposed to be bad.
Then why did it just feel like I remembered someone?
Oh, Linda. Linda, I found one.
You say that every week.
No, but this one? Okay, picture this. Broke barista. Like, rent is due yesterday broke. She wakes up from this weird dream about making coffee, right? Specific instructions, temperatures, timing, the whole thing.
Uh-huh.
And then a billionaire walks into her shop, orders a plain black coffee, and she makes it wrong, except it's not wrong. It's the best coffee he's ever had in his life. And he looks at her like she just performed a miracle, like she unlocked something in him.
All right. All right, I'm in. Let's go chapter 1.
Chapter 1, Collision. The espresso machine screamed like something dying. Riley slammed her palm against the chrome housing, felt the burn through her calluses, and watched the pressure gauge twitch from red to yellow. Not green, never green anymore, but survivable. Yellow meant she could make it through another morning rush without calling a repair guy she couldn't afford. You keep hitting it like that, it's going to hit back, Jules said from the register, not looking up from the line of customers snaking toward the door. Mind your own machine. Her hands had been shaking since 4 a.m., since she'd woken from that dream. The one with the voice she couldn't place, walking her through steps she'd never learned. Temperatures in fractions of degrees. A bloom time to 23 seconds exactly. The voice had been calm, patient, like a teacher who'd explained this 100 times and didn't mind explaining it again. Stupid dream. Meaningless. She'd had too much cold brew before bed. That was all. Except her hands remembered something her brain didn't. And that was the part making her nervous. The door to the back office swung open, releasing a wave of perfume that cost more than Riley's weekly groceries. Marlowe emerged in a cream blazer and heels that clicked against the tile like a countdown. Her smile was warm the way a heat lamp is warm, functional, commercial, designed to keep things from going cold. Morning sunshine. How's our girl treating you? She's temperamental, like her operator. Marla leaned close, lowering her voice. Listen, I heard from Danny at the county office. Someone filed a complaint. Anonymous. They're sending an inspector sometime this week. Riley's hands stopped shaking because they'd gone numb. A complaint about what? Doesn't matter about what. Matters that they're coming. Marla patted her shoulder with manicured nails. Just keep everything clean, tight, by the book. You know how to do that. Riley knew how to do that. She also knew the machine had 3 violations waiting to happen. The walk-in cooler made a sound at night that couldn't be legal. And somewhere in her bag was a rent notice with numbers on it that looked like a phone number for a country she'd never visit. $2,847. Past due. Numbers she'd memorized without meaning to because her brain did that. Held on to things that hurt. I've got it covered, she said. Marla's smile widened, which somehow made it less reassuring. I know you do, sweetheart. That's why we love you. She disappeared back into the office. Riley returned to the line, to the rhythm of it. Pull, tamp, lock, extract, pour, call the name, next, and tried not to think about the dream or the inspector or the number in her bag. The man came in at 9:47 a.m., which she knew because she just looked at the clock, wondering if time had stopped. He was trying to blend in. She could tell by the way he dressed down. Dark jeans, gray Henley, no watch visible, and the way he'd positioned himself at the end of the line instead of cutting to the front. What gave him away wasn't the clothes. It was the space. People made room for him without knowing why. His shoulders carried the particular tension of someone used to being looked at and exhausted by it. There was also the man by the door, who was very clearly security pretending to be interested in the pastry case. Someone important. Jules murmured, making change. Everyone thinks they're important. The guy by the croissants has a gun. Then definitely don't shortchange anyone. The line moved. The man in the gray, Henley got closer. Riley watched him in her peripheral vision, because watching directly felt like looking at something bright, painful, and probably unwise. He had dark hair with threads of early gray at the temples, a face that would photograph, well, but currently looked like it hadn't slept, and hands that kept almost reaching for a phone that wasn't in his pocket. 2 customers ahead of him. Then he was there. What can I get you? He looked at the menu board like he'd never seen one before. Maybe he hadn't. Maybe he had people who ordered for him. Just coffee, black, bold, or light roast. Whatever you recommend. The answer of someone who didn't actually care what he drank, just needed the caffeine and the excuse to be here. Riley pulled a cup, reached for the carafe of the bold roast they'd been serving all morning, and then stopped. Her hands were doing something without her. She watched herself set down the carafe, watched herself reach for the single origin beans they kept for pour-overs, watched herself grind them at a setting she'd never used, measure water at a temperature she knew without checking, start a bloom that lasted exactly. She counted 23 seconds. The dream. The voice in the dream had said 23. Riley. Jules was looking at her strangely. The line. 1 second. She finished the pour. Slow circles. Off-center the way her hands wanted to go, not the way she'd been trained. A tiny adjustment. The voice again. What was that voice? And then she was adding something from the bottle of citrus oil they used for cleaning. Just a drop, a nothing amount, because that's what the dream had told her. And apparently she'd lost her mind. She handed him the cup. Here. He took it, and his fingers brushed hers. And she felt nothing because she was too busy panicking about what she'd just served him. Cleaning oil. She'd put cleaning oil in a customer's coffee. She was going to get fired, sued, and probably arrested. He raised the cup, took a sip, and went completely still. Not the stillness of politeness. Not the performative pause of someone pretending to be impressed. This was different. This was the stillness of a person who'd been hit by something they didn't expect. A memory, a feeling, a door opening in a room they thought they'd locked. His face did something private. A collapse and recovery so fast that Riley almost missed it. When he looked at her, his eyes were different, sharper, more present, more there than they'd been 30 seconds ago. Who taught you this? His voice was controlled, but only just. The kind of controlled that meant the control was costing him something. Riley bristled. She couldn't help it. The assumption in the question that someone must have taught her that she couldn't have figured anything out herself. hit a nerve rubbed raw by years of people looking at her and seeing the apron before the person. Taught me what? It's coffee. It's not. He stopped, looked at the cup in his hand, like it had betrayed him. Where did you learn to make it like this? I didn't learn it anywhere. I've worked here for 4 years. I make coffee. That's what I do. That wasn't entirely true. She'd done something different this time. Something she couldn't explain, but she wasn't about to admit that to a stranger who looked at her like she was a puzzle he was entitled to solve. Sir, if you want to discuss the menu, I'm going to need you to step aside. Something flickered in his expression. Surprise, maybe, or recognition. He nodded once, tightly, and pulled out his wallet. What do I owe you? $3.50. He handed her a $100 bill. I don't have change for that. I don't need change. He said it simply, like a fact, and moved toward the window seats before she could argue. Riley stared at the 100 in her hand, more than her share of tips for a good week, and felt her face heat with something that wasn't quite gratitude. From the back of the shop, she heard Marla's heels click twice, saw her appear in the doorway of the office, phone in hand, watching the man by the window with the particular alertness of someone who just recognized an opportunity. He stayed for 2 hours, nursing the same cup like it contained something he was afraid to finish. 3 times Riley caught him looking at her. 3 times he looked away before she could decide what to do about it. Before leaving, he approached her again. I'd like to speak with you, after closing, about the coffee, about how you made it. I know that sounds strange. I can explain, if you'll let me. I don't know you. No, you don't. And you want me to stay late, alone, to talk about coffee with a stranger who has a bodyguard. When you put it like that, it sounds like a bad idea, because it is. He nodded slowly. The disappointment on his face was so genuine it almost made her feel guilty, which was absurd because she didn't owe him anything. He set a card with a handwritten number on the counter. The coffee tasted like something I lost. That's all I wanted to tell you. Then he was gone, and the door was closing behind him, and Riley was left with a $100 tip in the register and a white card on the counter, and the strange, unwelcome feeling that something had just started that she didn't have the vocabulary to name. Chapter 2. Forced Proximity. Riley had been at work for 6 minutes and already wanted to quit. The line stretched out the door and curved around the corner. Phones were out, not to scroll, but to record. Someone had taped a printout of Grant Mercer's face to the community bulletin board with the caption, "He was here," in red marker. A woman in yoga pants was live streaming the menu board. "This is insane," Jules whispered, eyes wide. "We've never had a line like this. Ever. It'll die down. There are news vans, Riley. News vans." Riley looked. There were, in fact, news vans. 2 of them, parked illegally across the street, disgorging people with cameras and microphones, and the particular hungry energy of those who smell a story. Marla appeared at her elbow, practically vibrating. "Okay, so, I've been thinking. We need a special menu. Something to capitalize on the moment. The Mercer. No, the Billionaire brew. We charge $12. You do that thing you did. I don't know what I did. And we make a fortune. I'm talking merchandise. T-shirts. I got the coffee that broke the billionaire. Marla, I can't just. You absolutely can. You did it once, you can do it again. Marla squeezed her arm, nails digging in just slightly. This is our moment, sweetheart. Don't overthink it. She swept away to greet a journalist at the door, leaving Riley alone with a line of strangers who all wanted something she wasn't sure she could give them. The first customer ordered, "Whatever you gave him." So did the second, and the third. Riley made pour-overs until her wrist ached, trying to replicate whatever her hands had done yesterday, but it wasn't the same. The coffee was good. It was always good. She was good at her job, but it wasn't that. It wasn't whatever had made Grant Mercer go still. The customers could tell. She saw it in their faces. Disappointment dressed up as politeness. "It's good," a man in a suit said, in a tone that meant it wasn't. "Thanks," Riley said, in a tone that meant she didn't care. By noon, her hands were shaking again, but this time from exhaustion rather than dreams. Jules had started handling the register full-time, just to keep the line moving. Marla had done 3 interviews, and Riley had made approximately 900 cups of coffee that weren't quite right. Then the door opened and the room changed. Grant Mercer walked in wearing the same dress-down uniform as yesterday, dark jeans, simple shirt, but this time the attempt at anonymity was laughable. People recognized him before he'd taken 2 steps. Phones swung toward him like compass needles finding north. "Oh my God," someone said. "It's actually him. Is he coming back for more? Get a picture, get a picture." He ignored all of it, walked straight to the counter. To Riley, while the line parted around him like water around a stone. His security guy followed, looking pained. "I'm sorry," Grant said. "I didn't think it would. I didn't know someone was filming." "You didn't think a billionaire walking into a neighborhood coffee shop would attract attention? I thought I was being subtle. You have a bodyguard." "He's not a—" Grant glanced back at the large man in the dark suit. "Okay, he's a bodyguard, but he was supposed to wait in the car." And yet, Grant's jaw tightened. He looked at the crowd pressing in around them, the phones, the hungry eyes. "Let me fix this. How exactly do you plan to?" He turned to the room and raised his voice. "I'd like to buy coffee for everyone in line. Whatever they want. On me." A ripple of excitement, murmurs of seriously, and "Oh my God, and this is so going on my story." People started ordering, not just coffee, but pastries, sandwiches, the expensive stuff they usually just looked at. The line moved faster, but it also got longer as word spread outside that free coffee was happening. "You're making it worse," Riley hissed. "I'm trying to take the pressure off you by turning this into a circus." It was already a circus. "I'm just buying tickets." A woman pushed forward, phone thrust toward Riley's face. "Can you tell us your secret? What's in the coffee? Are you and Mr. Mercer in a relationship?" "What? No. Did you know each other before yesterday?" "I don't. We're not." "Back up." Grant stepped between Riley and the phone, his voice dropping to something cold and flat. "She's working. Leave her alone. The public has a right to know. The public has a right to order coffee and leave." That's it. The woman retreated, but Her phone was still recording. Someone shouted from the back, "Sellout! Corporate shill!" Someone else yelled, "Let her talk!" The noise built and built until Riley felt like she was drowning in it. "Everyone stop!" Her voice cut through the chaos. The shop went quiet. Riley stood behind the counter, hands flat on the surface to keep them from trembling. "I don't know why the coffee was different yesterday. I don't have a secret recipe. I'm not in a relationship with anyone. I'm just a person who makes coffee, and right now you're all making it very hard to do my job." She looked at Grant. "And you need to leave. Your help isn't helping." Something flickered across his face. Hurt, maybe, or recognition of a truth he didn't want to hear. He nodded once. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "I didn't mean to make things harder." He left. The crowd slowly settled back into something resembling a line. Marla emerged from wherever she'd been hiding, looking at Riley with an expression caught between admiration and calculation. The rest of the day passed in a blur of orders and stares and whispered comments. By closing, Riley's feet ached and her head pounded, and she wanted nothing more than to go home and sleep for 100 years. She was wiping down the counter when the back door opened. A woman walked in, tall, sharp-featured, dressed in a blazer that probably cost more than Riley's rent. She moved like someone who expected rooms to rearrange themselves around her. "We're closed," Riley said. "I know. I'm not here for coffee." The woman extended a hand. "Sloan Chun, I handle public relations for Grant Mercer." Riley didn't take the hand. "Good for you. I wanted to apologize for today and to offer some assistance." Sloan pulled out her phone, scrolled briefly. "I've arranged for a repair service to look at your espresso machine tomorrow. Complimentary. I noticed it was making some concerning sounds." "I didn't ask for that." "No, but you need it." Sloane's smile was precise, professional. "I also wanted to give you my card, in case things escalate and you need guidance, media training, legal counsel. These situations can get complicated quickly." "What situations?" "Viral fame, unwanted attention, people who want to use you for their own purposes." Sloane's eyes flicked briefly toward the back office, where Marla was still finishing up. "Not everyone who offers help has your best interests at heart." Riley took the card. She wasn't sure why. "Grant asked me to tell you something," Sloane said, pausing at the door. "He said, I'll stay away if that's what she wants. But if she changes her mind, the offer stands." "What offer?" "To explain. He thinks you deserve to know why your coffee affected him the way it did." Sloane tilted her head slightly. "For what it's worth, I've worked with him for 3 years. I've never seen him like he was yesterday. Whatever you did, it meant something to him." Then she was gone, and Riley was alone with the hum of the broken machine and the white card on the counter and too many questions she didn't have answers to. She was locking up when Jules found her. "You okay?" "No." "Yeah." Jules leaned against the doorframe. "Hey, so I might have done something stupid." "What kind of stupid?" "I was talking to this guy, Avery. He does food content, like videos and stuff. He wanted to know about you, about the coffee, and I maybe told him some things. Not secrets or anything, just stories. about working here, about you. Riley's stomach dropped. What things? Just like how you've been stressed lately, how you had that weird morning yesterday. I didn't think it was a big deal, but now he's texting me saying he wants to do a profile piece. And I don't know if I messed up. Jules, I know. I'm sorry. I really am. Riley wanted to be angry. She was angry. But Jules looked so young and scared and sorry that the anger couldn't find anywhere to land. Just don't talk to anyone else about me. Okay? Not until this dies down. Okay, I promise. Riley walked home in the dark, past the news vans that were finally leaving, past the stragglers still taking photos of the shop's exterior. Her phone buzzed with texts from numbers she didn't recognize, interview requests, probably, or worse. She didn't check them. At home, she made herself tea she didn't drink and sat on her couch and stared at the 2 cards on her coffee table, Grant's handwritten number and Sloane's crisp business card. 2 doors, both leading somewhere she couldn't see. She didn't open either one. Not yet, but she didn't throw them away either. She told him to leave. In front of everyone.
She had to. He was making it worse.
But his face, Linda, that man's never been told no by someone who meant it.
And now she's got 2 cards on her coffee table. 2 doors she hasn't opened.
And Jules just handed a stranger the key to a 3rd one.
Chapter 3. Go.
Chapter 3. False Alliance. The reviews hit overnight like a virus. Riley scrolled through them at 5 a.m., unable to sleep, watching her shop's rating drop in real time. Overrated. Scam. She couldn't even make it taste the same twice. Total fraud. Someone had posted a photo of her face with the caption, "This is what desperation looks like." Scam. Flyers had appeared on the bulletin board outside. Jules sent her a photo before dawn. Someone had printed dozens of them, taped them to the windows, the door, the community posting wall. By the time Riley got to the shop, Marla was already pulling them down. "Don't worry about it," Marla said, too brightly. "Haters. They'll move on. Who did this? Does it matter? What matters is we keep going. The machine's fixed, thanks to that Sloane woman. The line's still long. We adapt. The line was long, but it felt different now, less excited, more skeptical. People ordering with their phones, ready, waiting to be disappointed, hoping for content. Watch me prove the viral coffee girl is a fake. Riley made coffee. She made it well. It wasn't enough. At noon, Grant walked in. He'd waited, she realized, waited for the initial rush to thin, for the cameras to get bored, for a moment when his presence wouldn't cause a riot. He ordered at the counter like anyone else, didn't cut the line, didn't make a scene. "I thought I told you to stay away," Riley said. "You told me my help wasn't helping, so I stopped helping." He slid a 20 across the counter. "This is just coffee. Nothing else." She made him a pour-over. Her hands moved the way they'd moved that first day. Same beans, same temperature, same timing. She watched his face as he tasted it. He went still again. Not as dramatically as before, but the echo was there. The recognition. The door opening. "There," Riley said. "Same as before. Are you going to tell me why that matters so much to you?" Grant set the cup down carefully. Did you add citrus oil? Riley's heart stopped. What? A drop. Maybe less. In the bloom stage. His eyes met hers. Did you? She hadn't told anyone about the citrus oil. Not Jules, not Marla, not the journalists. It was too strange, too inexplicable. She'd added cleaning supply to a customer's coffee because a dream told her to. She'd buried it, tried to forget it. How do you know that? Because my mother used to make coffee exactly like this. Grant's voice had gone quiet. The same temperature, the same timing, the same. He stopped, swallowed. She had this theory about citrus oil, said it unlocked something in the beans. Everyone thought she was crazy. Your mother. She died 8 years ago. She was working on something, a coffee project, a roasting method. I don't know. She never finished it. I haven't tasted anything like it since. He looked at Riley like she was a ghost. Until you... The shop noise faded. Riley was aware of customers waiting, of Jules watching from the register, of Marla's office door cracked open just slightly, but all of it felt distant, unreal. I don't know your mother, she said. I've never met her. I've never heard of her project. I know. So how? I don't know. Grant picked up his coffee again, cradling it like something precious. That's what I've been trying to figure out. That's why I keep coming back. Before Riley could respond, the front door banged open. Marla swept in from outside, phone in hand, face arranged in careful concern. Riley, honey, we need to talk. In private. I'm with a customer. This can't wait. Marla's eyes flicked to Grant, then back. It's about your future here. Riley followed her to the back office, leaving Grant at the counter with his impossible coffee and his impossible story. Marla closed the door. Her warmth had curdled into something harder. I've been doing some thinking, she said, about protecting you, about protecting the shop. Okay, this situation, it's volatile. The reviews, the accusations, the media attention. One wrong move, and we lose everything. Marla pulled a folder from her desk. I had my lawyer draw up some papers, just to formalize things, protect your interests. Riley took the folder, opened it, read the first page. It was a contract, exclusive rights to her coffee methodology, revenue sharing, weighted heavily toward the shop, non-compete clauses, a provision that gave Marla final approval over any media appearances, partnerships, or brand extensions. This isn't protection, Riley said slowly. This is ownership. It's partnership. You bring the talent. I bring the business infrastructure. 50-50. This says 70-30. Your favor. For the first 2 years. Then it adjusts. Riley, honey, you don't know how these things work. You need someone experienced to guide you through. I need to think about it. Marla's smile tightened. Of course. Take your time. She paused at the door. But if you decide you don't want my protection, I can't guarantee you'll still have a job here. Things are precarious right now. The lease is up for renewal. Lots of variables. She left. Riley stood in the back office, holding a contract that felt like a trap, listening to the muffled sounds of the shop beyond the door. Her shop, except it wasn't hers. It had never been hers. She just worked here. When she came back out, Grant was waiting. Everything okay? Fine. You're a bad liar. And you're still here. Riley started cleaning the espresso machine, needing something to do with her hands. Shouldn't you be running a company or buying an island or whatever it is billionaires do? I have people for that. Must be nice. It's not. Grant leaned against the counter, watching her work. Can I help? With whatever's wrong. You can't buy your way into my problems. I wasn't going to try. He hesitated, but I could listen. If you wanted to talk. Riley scrubbed harder at a stain that wasn't there. Your PR person, Sloan. She said you wanted to explain something about why the coffee matters. I do. Then explain. No money. No fixing. Just tell me. Grant was quiet for a long moment. Then he pulled out his phone, scrolled through it, and held up a photo. A woman with dark hair and laugh lines and eyes that looked like his. She was standing in front of a small roasting operation, bags of beans stacked behind her, smiling at the camera like she had a secret she couldn't wait to share. Her name was Catherine. Grant said she built a tech company because that's what people expected. But what she loved, what she really loved, was coffee. The science of it, the art. She was working on something revolutionary. She said, a method that would change everything. What happened to it? She got sick. The project got shelved. After she died, I looked for her notes, her research, anything. But it was all gone, lost or destroyed, or just forgotten. His voice cracked slightly. I thought I'd never find it again. And then I made you a cup of coffee. And then you made me a cup of coffee. The shop was emptying out. Late afternoon light slanted through the windows. Jules had gone quiet at the register, pretending not to listen. I had a dream. Riley said she didn't know why she was telling him this. The night before you came in, a voice teaching me how to make coffee. Specific instructions. Temperature, timing, everything. I thought I was losing my mind. What did the voice sound like? I don't know. Patient. Kind. Riley shook her head. This is crazy. I don't believe in stuff like this. Psychic dreams. Messages from the dead. It's not real. Maybe not. Grant put his phone away. But something is happening. Something connected us. And I'd like to find out what. The back door of the shop opened. Riley looked up, expecting Marla, but it was Mrs. Delaney, the older woman who came in every Tuesday and Thursday for a small decaf and a crossword puzzle. She worked part-time at the community center down the street, had for 30 years. She noticed everything and said very little. Today, she was holding a cardboard box. Found something, Mrs. Delaney said. Thought you might want to see it. She set the box on the counter. Inside, old flyers, yellowed photographs, a few cassette tapes, and a stack of papers that looked like meeting minutes. From the community center basement. We're cleaning out for renovations. Mrs. Delaney pointed to one of the photographs. Recognize anyone? Riley picked it up. A group shot from what looked like a neighborhood fundraiser, maybe 15 years ago. Local business owners, community members, someone holding an oversized check. And in the background, barely visible, a woman standing next to a coffee setup. Dark hair, laugh lines, a small sign that read Catherine's Coffee Project. Grant made a sound like he'd been punched. "That's her," he said. "That's my mother. She was here." Ran a little pop-up at the center one summer. Mrs. Delaney said, "Testing recipes," she said, "getting feedback from regular folks. Nice woman. Made the best coffee I ever had." She looked at Riley. Until recently, Riley stared at the photo, at the woman who'd apparently stood in this very neighborhood, maybe walked these same streets, worked on a project that somehow, impossibly, had found its way into Riley's dreams 15 years later. "There's more in the box," Mrs. Delaney said. "Notes, I think. Recordings. I haven't gone through all of it." She patted Riley's hand. "Whatever's happening with you, dear, I don't think it's random. I think you were meant to find this." She left. The box sat on the counter between Riley and Grant, full of answers neither of them was ready to face. "Well," Riley said finally, "I guess we're doing this." Grant looked at her. Together, Riley thought about Marla's contract, about the reviews calling her a fraud, about the rent she couldn't pay, and the machine that was barely holding together, and the life she'd built that suddenly felt like it was standing on sand. Then she thought about the dream, the voice, the woman in the photograph who'd stood exactly where Riley was standing now. Together, she said, "But you're not paying for anything. Deal." They shook on it. His hand was warm and steady and felt like the beginning of something. Whether that something was good or bad, Riley couldn't tell yet, but she was going to find out. His mother, Linda, the coffee is his mother's recipe. "I'm not okay."
You're never okay. That's your brand.
But she dreamed it. She dreamed a dead woman's coffee recipe. That's not normal. That's.
A meet cute with a ghost as the matchmaker.
Yes. And now Marla's out here with a 70-30 contract, like she's not the villain.
Partnership. Sure. And I have a bridge to sell you. Very reasonable terms. Only light ownership of your soul.
But Mrs. Delaney, with the box, the photograph.
Never underestimate a woman who does crossword puzzles in pen.
Chapter 4. I'm scared.
Good. You should be.
Chapter 4. Pressure cooker. The inspector arrived at 8:47 a.m. on a Tuesday, which felt like a betrayal. Tuesdays were supposed to be slow. Riley hadn't slept. She'd spent the night going through Mrs. Delaney's box, the photographs, the notes in handwriting she didn't recognize, the cassette tapes she couldn't play because who owned a cassette player anymore? Grant had offered to have them digitized. She'd said no. She wasn't ready to hear the voice yet. Wasn't ready to know if it matched the one in her dreams. Now she stood behind the counter with her hands clasped to keep them still, watching a man in a county polo shirt walk slowly through her shop with a clipboard and a flashlight. "Ventilation looks okay," he muttered to himself. "Refrigeration, when was this last serviced?" 6 months ago. A lie. It had been closer to 14. He wrote something down. Riley's stomach turned. Outside, a small crowd had gathered. Word had spread. The inspector was here. The fraud was being investigated. Justice was coming. Someone had a sign that said, "Expose the scam." Someone else was filming for a story that would probably go viral by lunch. Jules stood at the register, frozen occasionally making change with the mechanical precision of someone trying very hard not to panic. The espresso machine, the inspector said. Recent repair? Yes, last week. Paperwork. Riley's mind went blank. The repair had been arranged by Sloane. Riley had never seen paperwork. She'd been too grateful for a working machine to ask questions. I can get it to you, she said. It's in the back. It wasn't in the back. She didn't know where it was. She walked to the office anyway, buying time, and found Marla sitting at the desk with her phone out and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Problem. The repair paperwork. For the machine. Do we have it? Marla made a show of looking through a drawer. I'm not seeing it. Sloane's people handled that, didn't they? Might want to call her. Marla, the inspector is asking. I'm sure it'll turn up. Marla's smile sharpened. This might all go away if you just sign those papers. Legitimate business, proper documentation, everything above board. Hard to be a fraud when you've got a real contract. Riley stared at her. Are you serious right now? I'm trying to help you, sweetheart. I've always been trying to help you, but you keep making it difficult. The front door chimed. Riley turned to see Grant walking in, dressed down as usual, scanning the room until he found her. His face was tight with worry. I heard about the inspection, he said, crossing to the counter. Is everything okay? Fine, Riley said automatically. She's missing paperwork. The inspector cut in, not looking up from his clipboard. For a recent equipment repair. Without documentation, I'll have to flag the machine as potentially non-compliant. The repair was arranged through my office. Grant said, I can have the paperwork sent over within the hour. The inspector looked up, recognized him, did the particular recalibration that happened when people realized they were talking to someone with money and lawyers. That would be acceptable, he said slowly. No, Riley's voice came out harder than she intended. I don't need you to fix this. I'm not fixing anything. I'm providing documentation for a repair I authorized, which I didn't ask for. Riley, I said no. The shop had gone quiet, customers watching, phones recording. The inspector caught between them like a man who desperately wished he'd called in sick. Grant stepped closer, lowering his voice. I'm not trying to buy my way out of this. The paperwork exists. It's real. Let me help. Every time you help, things get worse. So let them get worse. But let them get worse with a working espresso machine and no compliance violations. Riley wanted to argue. She wanted to tell him to leave, to stop inserting himself into her life, to stop looking at her like she mattered to him when they barely knew each other. But the inspector was waiting, and Marla was watching from the office door, and somewhere outside, someone was chanting fraud, fraud, fraud in a rhythm that was probably meant to be funny. Fine, she said. Send the paperwork. Grant pulled out his phone, typed quickly, and within 40 minutes, a courier arrived with a folder of documentation, so thorough it made the inspector blink. This is very complete, he said. My office is efficient. The inspector finished his walkthrough, checked his boxes, made his notes. When he got to the walk-in cooler, he paused at a seal that looked slightly off, a tag that should have been there and wasn't. This is a violation, he said. Riley's heart stopped. What? The safety seal. It's missing. This unit should have been tagged after the last inspection. I don't. That was there. I saw it last week. It's not here now. The inspector made a note. I'll have to flag this for follow-up. You'll receive notice within 5 business days. He left. The crowd outside cheered like they'd won something. Riley stood in the middle of her shop, surrounded by customers who were already posting about the violation, and felt the ground shift beneath her feet. That seal was there, she said to no one in particular. I know it was. Someone removed it. Grant's voice was quiet, certain. Someone wanted this to happen. Who would? Riley stopped, looked toward the back office. Marla was gone. I need to check something, Riley said. She pushed through to the back, to the cooler, and examined the spot where the seal should have been. Clean. No residue. No torn edges. Like it had been carefully peeled away rather than fallen off. When she turned around, Grant was there. I believe you, he said. You don't even know what I'm thinking. You're thinking someone sabotaged you. Someone who wanted the inspection to fail. Someone who benefits if you're desperate enough to sign away your rights. He paused. I'm thinking the same thing. Riley leaned against the cooler door. The cold seeped through her shirt, grounding her. I can't prove anything. Not yet. And even if I could, what then? Marla owns this place. She can fire me whenever she wants. She can. Riley's voice cracked. I don't have anywhere else to go. This job is all I have. Grant was quiet for a moment. Then he reached out, slowly, and steadied her wrist where it had started to shake. That's not true, he said. Don't. I'm not offering money. I'm not offering rescue. His grip was light. She could pull away if she wanted. I'm just saying, you have more than you think. You have skills. You have people who believe in you. You have whatever this is. He gestured vaguely between them. Whatever we're figuring out together. We're not figuring out anything. We're standing in a cooler talking about sabotage. That's a start. Riley laughed. It came out broken, more sob than sound, but it was still a laugh. You're ridiculous, she said. I've been told. She didn't pull her hand away. Later, after the shop closed and the crowd dispersed, and Marla reappeared with convenient excuses about errands, Riley found a voicemail on the shop's old answering machine. The one nobody used anymore, tucked in the back office behind stacks of menus and forgotten paperwork. Mrs. Delaney's voice. Found something else, dear. Another tape. This one has a label on it. Says Coffee Project, final notes. Thought you'd want to know. I'll keep it safe at the center until you're ready. Riley played the message 3 times. Then she called Grant. I need your help, she said. And I hate that I need your help. But there's a tape. And I think, she took a breath, I think it might have answers. When do you want to go? Now, tonight, before anyone else finds out it exists. I'll pick you up in 20 minutes. He hung up. Riley stood in the dark office, listening to the hum of the cooler and the distant sounds of the city, and tried to convince herself she wasn't making a terrible mistake. Marla's contract sat on the desk where she'd left it, unsigned, a threat in paper form. Riley tucked it in a drawer and walked out to wait for a ride she probably shouldn't be taking toward answers she probably wasn't ready to hear with a man she definitely shouldn't be trusting. But she went anyway. Some doors, once opened, don't let you close them again. Chapter 5. All is lost. The community center was dark when they arrived, but Mrs. Delaney had left a key under the third flower pot from the left, exactly where she'd said it would be. This feels illegal, Riley whispered. It's not illegal if we have permission. Permission from an 80-year-old woman who may or may not have the authority to let us into a municipal building at 11 p.m. She's 73, Grant said, and she has a key. That's authority enough. They slipped inside. The hallway smelled like floor wax and old paper, and something floral that Riley couldn't identify. Grant used his phone as a flashlight, sweeping the beam across bulletin boards and trophy cases and a hand-painted sign that read, "Community is family." "Basement's this way," Riley said, leading him toward a door marked storage. "Staff only." The stairs creaked. The basement was cluttered with decades of accumulated community life. Folding chairs, holiday decorations, boxes of old programs, and newsletters. Mrs. Delaney had left the tape on a card table near the front, along with a portable cassette player that looked older than Riley. She thought of everything. Grant said, "She's thorough." Riley picked up the tape. The label was faded, but legible. Coffee Project, Final Notes. See, Mercer. August. No year. Just August. "You ready?" Grant asked. "No." She pressed play anyway. Static. A click. Then a voice, warm, patient, slightly tired. The voice from Riley's dream. "Okay, take 3. Or 4. I've lost count." A soft laugh. "This is Catherine Mercer. And I'm recording this because I have a terrible memory and an even worse filing system. And if I don't put this somewhere, I'll lose it forever." Grant made a sound beside her. Small, involuntary. Riley reached out without thinking and found his hand. The Coffee Project. Where to start? I've been working on this for, God, 3 years now. Longer? It started as a hobby, a distraction from board meetings and investor calls, and all the things I'm supposed to care about, but don't. And then it became something else. A pause. The sound of liquid pouring. Coffee being made. Riley realized the method is simple. Really, it's about precision. Temperature at exactly 201 degrees. Not 200, not 202. Bloom time of 23 seconds. And the secret, the thing nobody believes me about, a single drop of citrus oil. Food grade, obviously. It does something to the compounds. Opens them up. I don't have the science to explain it, but I have the taste. Riley's throat tightened. Every detail matched. Every single one. I've been testing it at the community center downtown. Little pop-up, nothing fancy. The regulars love it. There's this one woman. She doesn't know it, but she's become my control group. She can taste the difference between 201 and 202 degrees. I'm not kidding. Most sensitive palate I've ever encountered. If this method works on her, it'll work on anyone. Grant's hand squeezed hers. "I'm getting sicker," Catherine continued. The warmth in her voice had thinned. "The doctors keep using words like aggressive and timeline. I don't have much time to finish this, but I want to. I want to leave something behind that isn't a company or a portfolio or a name on a building. I want to leave something real, something that makes people stop just for a second and feel. She trailed off. When she spoke again, her voice was rougher. Happy. I want to make people happy. With coffee. How ridiculous is that? The tape ended. Riley sat in the dark basement, tears streaming down her face, still holding the hand of a man she barely knew, whose mother had just spoken to her from beyond the grave. She was here, Riley said, in this neighborhood, testing recipes. And she stopped, a memory surfacing, hazy and half-formed. I came to this community center as a kid. My mom used to bring me to the summer programs. I was 9, the woman with the sensitive palate. No, I was a child. I wouldn't have. But even as she said it, she remembered. A kind woman at a folding table, handing her tiny cups of coffee that Riley's mother said she was too young to drink. But the woman had winked and said, "Just a taste. Tell me what you think." And Riley had tasted, over and over, all summer long. Different temperatures, different timings, different tiny adjustments. "Oh my God," Riley breathed. "You were her control group." I was a kid. I didn't know. I thought it was a game. She made it feel like a game. Grant was staring at her with an expression she couldn't read. Grief mixed with something else. Wonder, maybe, or recognition. "She trained your palate," he said, "without you knowing. And then, years later, I dreamed it back." They sat with that for a long moment. The impossibility of it, the strange, circuitous path that had led them here, two people connected by a dead woman's coffee, and a childhood Riley had mostly forgotten. "I need to go back to the shop," Riley said finally. "There's more in that box. The notes, the photographs. There might be something that proves Marla tampered with the seal. Something we can use. At midnight. Marla won't be there. And I have a key." Grant nodded slowly. "Then let's go." They drove across town in silence. The streets were empty. The city quiet in the way it only got in the dead hours between late and early. Riley watched the streetlights pass and tried to process everything she'd just learned. She'd been chosen, not randomly, not mystically, but deliberately by a woman who'd seen something in her years ago and planted a seed she'd never known was there. It should have felt violating, manipulative. Instead, it felt like being seen. The shop was dark when they arrived. Riley unlocked the front door, disabled the alarm, and led Grant to the back office where she'd left Mrs. Delaney's box. It was gone. "No," Riley said. No. She tore through the office, checked the shelves, the closet, under the desk. Nothing. "Marla," Grant said. "She took it. She took everything." Riley's voice cracked. The photographs, the notes, the proof that this was real, that I'm not crazy, that... Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Such a shame about the lease. Heard the landlord's moving forward with termination. Something about code violations? Anyway, good luck out there. M. Riley showed it to Grant. His jaw tightened. "She's burning everything down. She's winning." Riley sank into Marla's desk chair, suddenly exhausted. "I can't fight this. I don't have money for lawyers. I don't have proof. I don't have anything. You have me. You can't fix this." I'm not trying to fix it. Grant crouched in front of her, eye level, closer than he'd ever been. I'm trying to stand next to you while you fix it. There's a difference. Is there? Yes. He didn't look away. I spent years thinking I had to solve everything myself. Buy the solution. Control the outcome. It doesn't work. It just makes you lonely and everyone around you resentful. So what's the alternative? Trust people. Ask for help. Let them show up for you. I don't know how to do that. Neither do I. But we could figure it out together. Riley laughed weakly. That's the second time you've said that word. Together. I mean it both times. She looked at him, really looked. The lines of fatigue around his eyes, the gray at his temples, the way he held himself like someone expecting to be disappointed, but hoping anyway. Your mother, Riley said slowly. She wanted to make people happy. With coffee. Yeah. I think I'd like to try that too. If I get the chance. Then let's make sure you get the chance. Riley's phone buzzed again. This time it was Jules. Avery came through. He feels terrible. Has screenshots of everything. Marla's messages, the whole plan. He wants to help. Says he'll testify, if it comes to that. Riley read the message 3 times. What is it? Grant asked. A door opening. She stood up, energy flooding back. Avery, the content guy Jules was talking to. He's got proof. Messages from Marla. Her whole plan. It's a start. Riley was already typing back. We need to move fast, before she knows we're coming. Grant stood too. What do you need? Mrs. Delaney. She might have copies. Or remember where she put the originals. And we need a public space, somewhere Marla can't control the narrative. Somewhere people can see for themselves what she did. The community center? No, somewhere bigger. Riley's mind was racing. The courthouse steps, the city plaza, somewhere with foot traffic and visibility, and a story. Exactly. She looked at him. You're good at stories, right? Your PR person, Sloan. Would she help? Grant hesitated. Sloan is complicated. She's protective. Sometimes too protective. Would she help if you asked? Maybe, if I explained why it mattered. Then ask. Riley took a breath. We're doing this. Tomorrow, we're going to set up a public tasting, invite everyone who called me a fraud, and show them exactly what Marla did and exactly what this coffee is. The real story. No spin. That's a big risk. I know. You could lose everything. I'm already losing everything. At least this way, I lose it on my own terms. Grant smiled. It was small and tired and real. Okay, he said, let's go to war. They walked out of the shop together into the cold night air, and Riley felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Not hope exactly. Hope was too fragile for what this was, but maybe the thing that comes right before hope, the decision to try anyway. She was the little girl. She was the control group. Linda, I need a minute.
Take your minute. I'll be over here pretending I'm not emotional.
Catherine picked her 20 years ago, trained her palate without her even knowing.
And now Marla's torched the evidence and the lease and probably her own karma for the next 6 lifetimes.
But Avery came through.
Guilt is a powerful motivator. So is realizing you backed the wrong horse.
They're going to war. Public tasting. Courthouse steps.
Either the most romantic thing I've ever heard or a complete disaster.
Why not both?
Chapter 6. Bring tissues.
Chapter 6. Reckoning. The city plaza was cold at 7 in the morning, but Riley's hands were steady. She'd set up the table herself, a simple folding table borrowed from the community center, a portable burner, her pour-over equipment, and 3 bags of the single-origin beans she'd been using since the beginning. No banners, no signs, just coffee. Grant had wanted to help. She'd told him to stay back until it was time. This part, the setup, the waiting, the quiet before the storm, she needed to do alone. Mrs. Delaney arrived first, carrying a cardboard box that made Riley's heart stutter. Thought Marla got everything, Mrs. Delaney said, setting it on the table. But I'm old, not stupid. I made copies. Photographs, notes, even dubbed the tape onto one of those little USB things my grandson gave me. She patted Riley's cheek. Always keep backups, dear. First rule of administration. Jules showed up next, Avery trailing behind her, looking like he hadn't slept in days. He was clutching his phone like a lifeline. I have everything, he said, not quite meeting Riley's eyes. Screenshots, the messages where she told me what to dig up on you, the payment she offered. He swallowed. I'm sorry. I didn't know it would go this far. But you kept the receipts. I keep everything. Content creator habit. Riley almost smiled. Then we're even. For now. By 8, a small crowd had gathered, curious passers-by, a few people who recognized Riley from the viral video, some who'd come specifically because word had spread on social media overnight. Grant had done that part, she knew, quietly, without telling her. At 8:15, Sloane arrived. She was wearing all black, which felt appropriate. She surveyed the setup with the clinical efficiency of someone calculating odds. This is either brilliant or catastrophic, she said. Probably both, Riley admitted. Grant asked me to help, against my better judgment. I'm here. Sloane handed her a folder. Security footage from the shop. Time-stamped the night before the inspection. Shows someone entering through the back door and accessing the walk-in cooler. Someone. The footage isn't clear enough for a face. But the height, the build, the way she moves, Sloane's mouth thinned. It's circumstantial, but combined with everything else, it paints a picture. Why are you helping me? I thought you wanted Grant to stay away from all this. Sloane was quiet for a moment. I've spent 3 years protecting him from people who want to use him. I thought you were one of them. She met Riley's eyes. I was wrong. He's different when he talks about you. Lighter, like he's remembering how to be a person instead of a portfolio. Don't make it weird. I'm still not sure I like you, but I trust his judgment. Occasionally. At 8:30, Marlo arrived. She came with a lawyer and a cameraman and the particular confidence of someone who believed she'd already won. Her smile was immaculate. Her outfit was pressed. She looked like a woman ready to give a victory speech. Riley, sweetheart, she called across the plaza. What is this? Some kind of last stand. Something like that. Marla laughed. Honey, The lease is terminated. The inspection failed. You have no job, no shop, no proof of anything. What exactly do you think you're going to accomplish here? I'm going to make coffee. Coffee won't save you. Maybe not. Riley turned to the crowd, which had grown larger now. Phones were out. People were watching. But the truth might. She nodded at Mrs. Delaney, who pulled out the USB drive and handed it to Avery. He plugged it into a portable speaker someone had brought. Catherine's voice filled the plaza. This is Catherine Mercer, and I'm recording this because I have a terrible memory and an even worse filing system. Riley watched Marla's face as the tape played, watched the confidence flicker, then harden, then crack at the edges as Catherine explained the method, the temperature, the timing, the citrus oil, everything Marla had tried to claim Riley had stolen or fabricated. When the tape ended, the plaza was silent. That proves nothing, Marla said, but her voice had lost its smoothness. Anyone could have made that recording. It's not. There's more. Avery stepped forward. Phone raised. Messages from you. Offering to pay me for dirt on Riley. Telling me exactly what kind of story you wanted. Unstable, desperate, fraud. You planned this. He started reading. The crowd leaned in. Marla's lawyer put a hand on her arm, murmuring something urgent. And there's this. Sloane produced her folder. Security footage from the shop. The night before the inspection, someone removed the safety seal from the walk-in cooler. Someone who had a key and knew exactly where the cameras were. That's not, you can't prove. The footage shows your car in the parking lot. Sloane's voice was ice. Time stamped, 11:47 p.m. Marla's composure shattered. This is a setup. Grant Mercer is behind this, isn't he? He's trying to destroy me because I wouldn't sell him the shop. I never asked to buy the shop, Grant said, stepping out of the crowd. He'd been there the whole time, Riley realized. Watching, waiting. I asked to understand why a cup of coffee made me feel like my mother was still alive. That's all I ever wanted. He walked to Riley's table and stood beside her, not in front, not blocking her, just there. Riley didn't steal anything, he continued. She didn't fake anything. She has a gift my mother recognized 20 years ago in a little girl who could taste the difference between 201 and 202 degrees. My mother trained her, prepared her, and then life did what life does, and they forgot each other. Until now. He looked at Riley. I'm not here to rescue her. I'm here because she's the first real thing I've found in years, and I'm not letting anyone take that away. The crowd murmured. Phones recorded. Somewhere, Riley knew this was already going viral, the sequel to the original video, the billionaire defending the barista, the truth finally coming out. But she wasn't thinking about that. She was thinking about coffee. I want to make something clear, Riley said, addressing the crowd. I'm not magic. I'm not a genius. I'm a person who got lucky enough to meet someone who saw something in me before I saw it myself. Lucky enough to remember, even when I didn't know I was remembering. She picked up her pour-over equipment. This coffee isn't special because of me. It's special because of her, Catherine Mercer, a woman who wanted to make people happy and figured out how to do it one cup at a time. She started brewing, The familiar motions, the temperature check, the 23-second bloom, the slow pour, off-center, the way her hands had always wanted to go, the citrus oil, just a drop. When it was ready, she poured a cup and handed it to the nearest stranger, a woman in a winter coat who'd been filming on her phone. "Tell me what you think." The woman took a sip. Her eyes widened. "Oh," she said softly. "Oh, that's—" She didn't finish. She didn't have to. Riley made more, cup after cup, passing them into the crowd, watching faces change as people tasted something they couldn't quite name, but recognized anyway. Comfort, memory, a door opening to somewhere warm. Marla slipped away at some point. Riley didn't notice when. It didn't matter. The story had already shifted. The narrative had already changed. By noon, the plaza was packed. Local news had arrived. Someone from a food magazine was taking notes. A woman from the city council was talking to Mrs. Delaney about permits and pop-up regulations and community enrichment initiatives. Grant found Riley during a lull when her hands finally started to ache. "You did it," he said. "We did it." "No, this was you." He gestured at the crowd, the cameras, the cups scattered on every surface. "I just stood nearby. That's not nothing. It's not everything either." Riley wiped her hands on her apron. "Your mother would be proud of you." Grant went still, the same stillness from that first day, when he'd tasted the coffee, and looked at her like she'd unlocked something. "You think so? I know so." She wanted to make people happy. You helped make that happen. He didn't say anything. He didn't have to. His face said everything. Later, much later, after the crowd thinned and the equipment was packed and Mrs. Delaney had extracted promises about proper documentation and regular check-ins, Riley and Grant sat on a bench at the edge of the plaza, sharing the last cup of coffee. "What now?" he asked. "I don't know. The shop's gone. The lease is dead. I'm technically unemployed. I could. Don't. I was going to say I could introduce you to some people. Investors, roasters, people who might want to partner with someone who has a method worth protecting." He paused. "Not my money, not my control, just connections. If you want them." Riley considered this. "That's different. I'm learning." She took a sip of coffee. It was cold now, but still good, still hers. "I want to do it right," she said. "Whatever comes next, I want it to be mine. Built my way. Slow if it has to be. Okay. And I want," she stopped, started again. "I want to keep figuring this out. With you. Whatever this is." Grant smiled. It was the realest smile she'd seen from him. "I'd like that. We go slow. Slow is good. And you don't buy me anything. Not even coffee. Especially not coffee. I make the coffee. That's the rule." He laughed. It was a good sound. Warm. Unpracticed. They sat together as the afternoon faded, passing the cup back and forth, not talking about the future, because the future would come whether they planned for it or not. For now, there was this, a bench, a cup, two people who'd found each other through impossible circumstance and chosen to stay. Riley's hands weren't shaking anymore. She didn't know what came next. She didn't know if the investors would call, or the food magazine would write something kind, or the internet would move on to the next viral moment. But she knew this. She wasn't alone. She wasn't a fraud. And somewhere, a woman named Catherine was smiling. That was enough. For now, that was enough.